freaked out by a bride tradition at a wedding, but now the bride and groom think I overreacted. Hi, I, 24F, am in the process of wedding planning. My fiancé's, 24M, side is Scottish and they have many different traditions. I learned one today called kidnapping the bride. His cousin explained that a few days before the wedding, a few of my fiancé's relatives and friends were going to take me to a pub and we'd stay there until my fiancé found me. They said it's a bonding experience where I hang out with his family and friends, and my fiancé can bond with mine as they try to find me. His cousin is a bit of a prankster and is more familiar with the town my future in-laws are from. My fiancé lives in America but makes several visits to Scotland to visit. We are getting married in Scotland since he has older relatives that couldn't travel to the States. I had never heard of this tradition before, but when I looked it up, the best I could find was a version in Germany. The only Scottish tradition that was similar included covering the couple in food as a joke. Asked his grandmother about the last one and she said they would never do that one. I'm worried his cousin will purposely choose a pub hard to find or pull a prank on me when I'm there. Has anyone else heard of this tradition? Is it common? If so, what happens during it? It sounds harmless, but I have an anxiety disorder and the idea of being alone with his friends and family for hours without him scares me. Logically, I know they wouldn't do anything intentionally to hurt anyone. They can just be a lot for me. And that's totally a me thing. His cousin is classic extrovert. They just like to joke around a lot. It's more the second thing you said. I want to make a good impression since, according to cousin, multiple relatives I haven't met before will be in on it. I'm more worried that they'll try to mess with my fiancé by picking somewhere in the middle of nowhere and I'm in an awkward situation for several hours. It's also just a little scary being in a place I've never been with unfamiliar people in a country I've only visited a handful of times. Also, never seen Maid of Honor but just checked the wiki. My fiancé did mention a tradition involving throwing coins for the children in the wedding, but I haven't heard the peck for a coin. I'll have to ask about that one. We're doing a hand fasting and the family has a special bowl cup that we both are drinking out of during the ceremony. There's also a specific song my in-laws asked to be played as the last song of the reception, but that's all the traditions I can think of at the top of my head. We're still in the early planning stages. I'm scared I'll say something dumb or make a fool of myself. I'm just too mentally ill for this. I'm close with some of them, but not all of them, ... but I guess that's also the point of this tradition.
Next story. Fiancé refuses to introduce me to her best friends before marriage. Now I'm questioning if this is a red flag. So my fiancé's Geef, aged 32, doesn't want me, aged 28M, to talk to her best friends at all before marriage. We have been dating since the last 2.5 years, and those 2.5 years has been mostly public. Public in the sense that both me and her like to post pictures or reels of ourselves from vacations or times together, and we were very clear that we were in a relationship on Instagram. However, she doesn't have many real-life followers from office or personal life on her Instagram. She has around 7 or 8 really good friends who she meets on a regular basis, and one cousin. We are both matured adults and decided to get married in the coming year in 2024, November or December, since we started dating. So I thought it would be better if I introduced her to my family too last month. So I took her consent and decided to meet with my family at a good restaurant in the city. My family got to know her, and they liked her, decided to fix the date for our wedding. But my Geef said it would be too early for her to get married this year, so we eventually decided to fix the marriage date for 6 months from now. Usually in my city, it's a requirement to book the marriage halls early enough so that you get a proper hall. So I took her consent and discussed with my family and booked a hall for marriage. Few days later, she also went and booked a hall for her side of the party. It is normal to have parties from both bride and groom's side in our culture. Basically, so far, I have made her meet my family and one female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her beef, and both of the meetings were proper, well-planned meetings. She also met maybe another friend of mine, accidentally, in the mall. I, however, have never met her friends in that manner. Only once or twice I met some friends by accident, as I was driving my Geef somewhere and 2-3 of her friends also hopped in, and we just spoke a few words as we traveled in the car. But her friends were aware that we were dating, of course. Now, a strange incident happened last week which left me really confused. It was a text from a friend of hers on Instagram. Before this, I had never spoken to this friend of hers except for only once, a year back, when my GF wasn't talking to me as we had a fight, and so I texted this friend of hers and asked her politely to talk to my Geef once. As she is a good friend, she said, okay, I will surely talk. And also I texted her friend only because I felt my Geef back then was going through a lot of things and probably she would need a friend to discuss properly, as she had a huge financial loan, etc., and even had a fight with me, her family, for some reasons. Shortly afterwards, I got a call from my Geef regarding me DMing her friend on Instagram, and she asked me very angrily to never talk to her again. To which I was surprised, but I complied as our relationship wasn't so stable back then, and I gave her space to settle. And after a while that day, I got a message from her friend saying, hey, sorry, I can't help you in this, and she blocked me on Instagram. I was okay and didn't react back, etc. So this was last year's incident. Now this same friend texted me suddenly last week as she was not able to reach my GF over call, and she was tensed as what was going on. I politely replied back saying, hey, she's alright, probably busy with office work. I will inform my GF that you are trying to reach her. I called my GF and said her friend called, to which she was like, oh Lord, what? Why does she have to text you? Please block her on Instagram. I found it very weird to block that friend and immature at the same time. So I told her I won't, so my GF told me that if I want then her friend will. Few moments later I saw I was again blocked on Insta by her friend. Actually this time around it made me a little angry, and I ended up texting her on her other Insta handle and told her, hey, how are you doing? I didn't like what you just did, and this is not a very respectable way to talk to someone. I also wrote, if your husband has some self-respect, he should also not text my girlfriend when you guys are having issues. Then she replied saying, hey, my husband, me and her were in her life much before you came to her life. After which I politely explained that I didn't mean to break their friendship and only wanted to make their bond better, and just felt disrespected for being blocked twice when I wanted to just talk to them once or get talksome. So she didn't reply to this and informed my GF, and my girlfriend again came out angrily and was very angry with me as I referred her friend's husband. I felt that was the only logical way to express myself. I was serious about her and made her meet my family friends. She had no family members, her parents also passed away, and cousins live in other countries or far away now. But her friends would be the ones who would be present at our wedding from her side. So I expected her to take me a little more seriously, and maybe not ask her friends to block me, at least on Instagram. She often visits this female friend's house. Sometimes they have sleepovers, and sometimes even parties with this friend and her husband in their house, birthday parties or some other reason. I never got to properly go out or meet any of her friends in an official go-out meet kind of sense. I expressed her a couple of times that your friend brings her husband baby along in group meetings sometimes, so maybe I can also go along and meet them once. But she is strictly against this, and this blocking incident recently is seriously bothering me. My GF says my ex-boyfriends had bothered my friends earlier as well, and I don't want these things to happen again. But this probably would have made sense to till maybe like a year back, but now we are going to get married in 6 months. Even now she's hesitant, says she will introduce me to them only after marriage. And also when she gets married, these friends will probably have to help her make her side of the arrangement's duties as she has no one else. So I needed to talk to them as well for our upcoming wedding preparations. I haven't spoken to my GF since last 2 days because of this, and she also is saying she is unsure of the marriage now after I expressed this desire to meet her friends, and she says that I will be controlling in nature in the future. I feel she will text me or call me back soon. Am I asking for the right thing by asking her to introduce me to her friends? What should I do? Told her my fiancé doesn't want me to meet or interact with her friends, even on social media, but we have already dated 2.5 years, and I made her meet my family 2 months back and also my friends. My GF often visits her best friend's house, and sometimes they even drink and party, and her friend's husband is also around, obviously, in the house. My fiancé also does same sleepovers or alcohol parties with another friend couple of hers who are not yet married. I find it weird because she never lets me interact with her friends even made a friend of hers block me last week because she texted me. I have raised this concern with my fiancé and said, I think I should get to know your friends at least once now that we have a wedding in 6 months. But she is reluctant and says I can only meet them after our marriage. What do you think I should do next? Am I correct to be concerned?